Okay. We have to integrate the module lesson with other subjects in managing and implementing these lessons. Let us start with a prayer. Father God, we thank you for this day that you have given us. Allow us to experience and learn about what is the linear and non-linear texts, and convert it into texts or the paragraphs that we have to learn about, especially in this day and this kind of lessons we have. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, everybody is present. So, sige, let's proceed. Did you review your lesson? And by reviewing, do you remember me? Did you remember anything? Okay, let's see. Before you start, you should recall your past lesson. You were learning about summarizing a text. Now this time you read and answer the following questions. Write your answers in your notebook. First, what is a summary? Okay, had you finished? Let's proceed to number 2. What are the strategies to consider when summarizing a text? Okay, very good. Had you done your work? Let's proceed. What's new? Let's have this activity. We have to compare and contrast. We have to study the boxes of information below and answer the questions that follow. Okay, we have the life stages of a mosquito. Adult female mosquitoes lay eggs on the inner walls of containers with water above the water line. Eggs look like black dirt. Eggs stick to container walls like glue. They can survive drying out for up to 8 months. Mosquitoes only need a small amount of water to lay eggs. Larvae live in the water. They hatch from mosquito eggs. This happens when water from the rain or a sprinkler covers the eggs. Larvae can be seen in the water. They are very active and are often called wigglers. The other word for that sa ato nilhiligay nun, manag na silang kiti-kiti. Nagapisik-pisik lang. Okay? Pupae live in the water. An adult mosquito emerges from the pupa and flies away. An adult mosquito bites a person. Adult female mosquitoes bit people and animals. Mosquitoes need blood to produce eggs. After feeding, female mosquitoes look for water sources to lay eggs. And we have the life cycle of the mosquitoes as found in our modules. Okay, let's have the analysis on what we just read about. Number 1. What information is presented in box A? Okay, very good. Number 2. What information is presented in box B? Yes, very good. How is the information presented in box A? Okay, excellent. How is the information presented in box B? Very good. Number 5. Do boxes A and B have the same information? Okay, very good. Let's proceed. What is it? From the previous activity, you can observe that box A contains the life stages of a mosquito in a paragraph form. On the other hand, box B has the drawing of the life cycle of a mosquito. Both have the same information but differ in presentation. That is, transcoding linear from nonlinear text. That will help you develop your English skills in transmitting information, which can be done not only through the linear texts, but also through the non-linear presentations. And these are charts, graphs, grids, and tables. Through the aid of nonlinear visuals, you can understand easily the ideas presented. What is linear text? Linear text is a text written in a traditional way without the aid of graphics. It is read from left to right, from beginning to end, and has syntactic and grammatical features. Okay, next. This type of text has an order or sequence. It is typically the author who decides the order of the text or its reading path. And what is reading path? Reading path is the path or way the readers take through a text. Generally, texts printed on paper are considered as linear texts. And linear text is a traditional text that needs to be read from beginning to end to make sense of the text. Examples of linear text in this reading path. Let's say, choose the letter of the best answer. Number 1, reading from beginning to end is a characteristic of a blank text. What's it? A, linear, B, parallel, C, nonlinear, D, unparalleled. Very good. Number 2, the kind of graph which is commonly used to show trends based on the direction of the line is called A, pie graph, B, bar graph, C, line graph, D, pictograph. Okay, very good. Correct. Let's proceed. Number 3. The kind of graph consists of columns arranged horizontally or vertically showing the comparison between the variables is normally called A, bar graph, B, line graph, C, pictograph, D, area graph. Okay, very good. Number 4, the visual representation of information on parts or segments as a proportion, percentage, or fraction of the whole is A, pie graph, B, pictogram, C, equation, D, graphical table. Number 5, the type or kind of reading path which does not need too much texts, rather it utilizes pictures, tables, charts, graphs, vectors, illustrations, icons, organizers, graphics, etc. A, linear, B, non-linear, C, vertical, D, horizontal. What's your choice? Let's proceed. Linear reading text here are the examples of linear reading texts. Correspondence, letters, scripts, speeches, online articles, memorandum, stories, essays, novels, circulars, poems, newspaper articles. And you have here the examples on screen and in your modules as well. Just the same. And we have the nonlinear reading text or nonlinear visuals. It's a combination of text and visual elements. The reading path is nonlinear and non-sequential. Thus, the reader can choose his or her own reading path. That's one. Next, the nonlinear reading text. Again, they are charts, graphs, flowcharts, illustrations, graphic organizers, tables, vectors, diagrams, concept maps, road safety signs, symbols. So we've added some more. Let's have the definitions of both, of the linear and nonlinear. In the linear text, refers to the traditional text that needs to be read from start to finish. Nonlinear text refers to the text that does not need to be read from start to finish. That's the difference. The reading path of the linear text. The reading one is only one, and it is the author who decides it. Or the reading path is only one, and it is the author who decides it. While in the nonlinear text, the reading path to this is that the multiple reading path is decided by the reader. How about the content? Normally, in the linear text, it includes normal texts, while in the nonlinear text, it includes minimal texts, a lot of colorful images, graphs, diagrams, images that are digitally made. Okay, how about the effort used of the reading path in linear text? The reader needs a varied amount of time. While in the nonlinear text, reader needs little time to finish the task effectively. So it's not easy for the nonlinear text to be analyzed. Okay, what are the examples? One is line graph. It is a common type of chart which displays information as a series of data points. So you have there also in your module the example of line graph. Next one, we also have the bar graph. It is a common type of chart which presents data with a rectangular size which differ in sizes. It usually scales so all the data could fit on the chart. So you have there also in your module. Another one is histogram. It is a graphical distribution of numerical data, and it has no gaps between the bars. So there's the difference of bar graph and histogram. Okay, let's go to the pie graph. A circular chart which is divided into slices or portions to illustrate proportion. Another one to have this in pie graph is just the same like that of a cake. So it's being sliced, divided by itself to the percentages. Okay, let's proceed. We also have the graphic organizer. The graphic organizer is also called concept or knowledge story map, cognitive organizers, cluster webs, advanced organizers, or concepts diagrams. It is a communication tool that uses visual symbols to express knowledge, concepts, or thoughts, and the relationships between them. So we have this in our class, in the English class, the web. We have the webbing, because it's like a spider web, connecting or interconnected to each other. Okay, so that's one of the nonlinear visual examples. Okay, another one is the Venn diagram. It is a diagram that shows all possible relationships between the items. It comprises of two overlapping circles. Actually, if you have to think about what to use on this, it's like using two hula hoops. or wheel without hubs, or tire overlapping to each other, and you see that what's outside of this circle, you have there the differences, and what's inside are actually written as of the similarities. So to think of this diagram, or this example of the nonlinear visual, you see that this can be used to find out the differences and the similarities of two things, or two areas or categories, as mentioned, as learned. Let's proceed. We also have the infographic. It is a collection of striking, colorful, and engaging visual or imagery arts with minimal texts to give an easy to understand overview of the topic. The information conveyed is easier and clearer to understand because you are presented with the information as given in our presentation. And we also have the transcode. Okay, another one to this is we have transpose or transform or translate or shift and or change from one matrix form or one matrix form to another. It's being changed. Okay, so this is also one of the non-linear visual example. And the question is, why is video transcoding important in streaming? So you are presented there the YEO raw file encoder, the transcoder, and it results to a video presentation, or in your laptop, in your cell phones, or even in your gadgets. Let's see. Now let's proceed to the next part. How to transcode from linear to non-linear. Number one, you have to read the text and get the main idea. Next one is you have to extract necessary information for the visual presentation. You have the text also. Next one, number three, you have to remember to use keywords or phrases only. So if you are to read, we have to read the text. In number two, let's say, apples and oranges are both fruits, which means that they have seeds inside of them. Each has a skin, but orange skins are thick and easy to peel. Apple skins are thinner and do not peel easily. Orange also contain more acid than apples, but both are delicious. In number three, let's say, remember to use keywords or phrases only. The text is, apples and oranges are both fruits, which mean that they have seeds inside of them. Each has a skin, but orange skins are thick and easy to peel. Apple skins are thinner and do not peel easily. Orange also contain more acid than apples, but both are delicious. So you see, there is the way to transcode from linear to non-linear text. Okay, next. How to transcode from linear to non-linear? First, again, we are reminded, look at the details of the graphic organizer, chart, or diagram carefully. Step 2. Get only the gist, or the most important details, or summary of the information. Number 3. Write what the diagram is about and your interpretation based on the given information. Number 4. Organize the information clearly. Number 5. Write neatly. Did you remember we started with what is summary? And we have there the transcoding from linear to nonlinear. Okay. Example of transcoding linear to nonlinear text. Let us see. You have there in the visual Jack's daily routine. We have the pie graph. And on the other side of the screen, we have Jack's daily routine. As you can see, Jack is a grade 7 student who stays at home during the COVID-19 pandemic. He spends 4 hours in doing household chores like cooking, washing dishes, etc. After doing household chores, he spends 4 hours watching TV. In the afternoon, he spends his time with his family, talking, laughing, dancing, and singing. After dinner, he spends 1 hour in praying and 2 hours playing online games. Then he sleeps for 8 hours. He spends 24 hours in a day. And you have there the percentage. The family time is 5 hours. Sleeping time is 8 hours. Playing time is 1 hour. Watching time is 4 hours. Playing online games is 2 hours. And doing chores is 4 hours. So, on one side is what? The non-linear text. On the other side, on my right, is the linear text. What is the difference of linear to nonlinear text? Are all texts written in linear? What is the importance of using nonlinear visuals if we can use linear texts instead? Very good. Let's think and recall. After all the activities, examples, and explanations, how far have you learned? Did you learn from the lesson? Very good. To assess your learning, answer the following activities using your English notebook. Remember to follow instructions carefully. Letter A. After reading the information about linear and nonlinear text, let us test how far you have understood. Let's start with number 1. Blank is a circular chart divided into fractions or portions. Is it A, bar graph, B, concept map, C, pie chart, D, Venn diagram? Okay, very good. If you have answered that. Letter B, using a line graph to depict the similarities and differences. A is making a pie chart to state the similarities and differences. Which of the following is not true? A. Linear texts are also called graphic representation. Letter B. Non-linear texts are oftentimes accompanied by explanations. Letter C. Examples of linear texts include articles, emails, and blog entries. Letter D. A bar graph is a non-linear text that consists of bars representing numerical data. Again, which of the following is not true? A. Linear texts are also called graphic representation. B. Non-linear texts are oftentimes accompanied by explanations. C. Examples of linear texts include articles, emails, and blog entries. Letter D. A bar graph is a non-linear text that consists of bars representing numerical data. Number 3. Which of the following non-linear texts may be used to present the topic, how to bake a cupcake? Again, which of the following non-linear texts may be used to present the topic, how to bake a cupcake? A. Bar graph. B. Line graph. C. Pie chart. D. Flow chart. Number 4. Courtney wrote a text that does not make use of graphics. All of the following are the possible work Courtney did, except A. Bar graph, B. Email, C. Essay, D. Short story. Number 5. Samuel wants to write about the similarities and differences of two things, but he wants to do it in a way that would not be boring for his reader. Which of the following would make his text interesting? Writing the similarities and differences in an elaborate essay. D. Writing the similarities and differences using a Venn diagram. D. Categorize the word list below into linear or non-linear. Copy the table in your English notebook and write your answers on it. Bar graph, essay, email, flow chart. What can I do? Let's try me. Let us check your ability in transcoding linear text to non-linear text, the text and vice versa by doing the following activities. A. Linear to non-linear text. You read the paragraph below. Carefully examine the data presented in the paragraph and interpret by copying the table in your English notebook and fill in the needed data in the spaces with asterisks. We have the examples of linear text in this reading path. And I said a while ago, let's have this exercise. Choose the letter of the best answer. Number 1, reading from beginning to end is a characteristic of a blank text. What is it? A. Linear, B. Parallel, C. Nonlinear, D. Unparalleled. Okay, have you answered? Let's proceed to number 2. The kind of graph which is commonly used to show trends based on the direction of the line is called pie graph, A, B, bar graph, C, line graph, D, pictograph. What's your answer? Number 3. The kind of graph consists of columns arranged horizontally or vertically, showing the comparison between the variables is normally called A. Bar graph, B. Line graph, C. Pictograph, D. Area graph. Number 4. The visual representation of information on parts or segments as a proportion, percentage, or fraction of the whole is what? A. Pie graph, B. Pictograph, C. Equation, D. Graphical table. Have you answered? Let's proceed to number 5. The type or kind of reading path which does not need too much text. Rather, it utilizes pictures, tables, charts, graphs, vectors, illustrations, icons, organizers, graphics, etc. What's it? A. Linear, B. Nonlinear, C. Vertical, D. Horizontal. What's your answer? Okay, with these examples, or with these questions, let's have the examples of linear reading text. What are they? Can you read? Okay, let's see. Linear reading texts are correspondence, essays, novels, letters, scripts, speeches, circulars, poems, online articles, newspaper articles, memorandum, and stories. these are, okay, you have on the screen the examples of these. And to differentiate linear versus nonlinear, you can read first the definition. In linear text, it refers to the traditional text that needs to be read from start to finish. In nonlinear text, the definition is it refers to the text that does not need to be read from start to finish. How about the reading path? The reading path is, in the linear text, is that the reading one is only one, and it is the author who decides it. How about in the nonlinear text? The multiple reading path is decided by the reader. Considering linear and nonlinear texts in their content, in the linear text we have it is normally includes normal texts, while in nonlinear text it includes minimal texts, a lot of colorful images, graphs, diagrams, images that are digitally made. Okay, we have the effort used. In the linear text, reader needs a varied amount of time. While in the nonlinear text, reader needs little time to finish the task effectively. So it's easy. And you have here on the screen the examples of the nonlinear reading text. They are, again, as mentioned earlier, they are charts, graphs, flowcharts, illustrations, graphic organizers, tables, vectors, diagrams, concept maps, road and safety signs, and symbols. Non-linear reading text or non-linear visuals is a combination of text and visual elements. The reading path is non-linear and non-sequential. When you say non-sequential, hindi kinanglan nagapasunod, hindi kinanglan nga chronological, nag-alagisod. Thus, the reader can choose his or her own reading path. Does not need you to know more of it. In the linear text, you have to read more. Another example of the nonlinear text is the line graph. It is a common type of chart which displays information as a series of data points. So you have there the line graph. And we also have the bar graph. It is a common type of chart which presents data with rectangular size which differ in sizes. It usually scaled so all the data could fit in the chart. And it has the gauge or the area as its capacity of how it is measured. Okay. Another example is the histogram, a graphical distribution of numerical data. It has no gaps between the bars. Again, the difference of it is that in bar graph you have the spaces between. In histogram you have no spaces between. Another example, it's more popular to us, the pie graph, a circular chart which is divided into slices or portions to illustrate proportion. You have there the example. Another one that is popular, that is used in our lesson, in the English class, we have the graphic organizer. It is also called concept, knowledge, story map, cognitive organizers, cluster webs, advanced organizers, or concepts diagram. It is a communication tool that uses visual symbols to express knowledge, concepts, or thoughts, and their relationships between them. And as far as we know, we have the webbing on this part, on graphic organizer. Now let's proceed to Venn diagram. If you will use two hula hoops, two donuts, the tire, and in a circular matter, you can look at here on the board or on the screen the example of it, of the Venn diagram. Two circles interlocking each other, and areas on the extremes, both extremes, the left and the right, is identified as areas with differences on things that are compared, while areas interlocking are areas that are similar. Let's say on fruit, you have there the example on banana and lemon. Banana and lemon, they both colored yellow, but banana is sweet and lemon is sour and bumpy. See? Next, the infographic. It is a collection of striking, colorful, and engaging visual or imagery arts with minimal texts to give an easy to understand overview of the topic. The information conveyed is easier and clearer to understand. Easier and clearer to understand. So informations are given on the screen as to the things needed to be understood about. Let's now proceed to the other part of the lesson on the linear to nonlinear text, is on transcoding. Now we have to transcode. How to transcode from linear to nonlinear. Let's read. Number 1, read the text and get the main idea. Again, read the text and get the main idea. Number 2, extract necessary information for the visual presentation. Number 3, remember to use keywords or phrases only. Number 4, clearly or classify information into categories. Number 5, make sure to use the correct non-linear text to present the information. Okay, let's go back. What's presented here is or are apples and oranges. And you have to understand of what apple and oranges are. So it's compared. Let's see how to transcode the information. What's this? What do you mean when you say transcode? The other word for it is transpose, or transform, or translate, or shift, and or change from one matrix form to another. Now to transcode again, we have the steps. Number 1, look at the details of the graphic organizer, chart, or diagram carefully. Be careful, read thoroughly. Step 2, get only the gist or the most important details or summary of the information. Number 3, write what the diagram is about and your interpretation based on the given information. Step 4, Organize the information clearly. Step 5. Write neatly. Let's go back to this. I presented to you earlier, you are asked on what is summary and how to summarize. So in this way, you have to learn on summarizing information, but you must not miss any detail that's important. So that's it. And given again the example of transcoding linear to nonlinear text, we have there Jack's daily routine. As presented, you have the pie or pie graph, and on the other side you have the linear text on what is being presented in Jack's daily routine in pie graph. Let's read. Jack's daily routine. Jack is a grade 7 student who stays at home during the COVID-19 pandemic. He spends 4 hours in doing household chores like cooking, washing dishes, etc. After doing household chores, he spends 4 hours watching TV. In the afternoon, he spends his time with his family, talking, laughing, dancing, and singing. After dinner, he spends 1 hour in praying and 2 hours playing online games. Then he sleeps for 8 hours. What is the difference of linear to nonlinear text? Very good. Are all texts written in linear? Are all texts written in linear? What is the importance of using nonlinear visuals if we can use linear texts instead? Very good. Let's think and recall. To assess your learning, answer the following activities using your English notebook. Remember to follow instructions carefully. C. After reading the information about linear and nonlinear text, let us test how far you have understood the lesson. Let's say number 1. Blank is a circular chart divided into fractions or portions. A. Bar graph. B. Concept graph or concept map. C. Pie chart. D. Venn diagram. Next, using a line graph to depict the similarities and differences. Making a pie chart to state the similarities and differences. 2. Which of the following is not true? A. Linear texts are also called graphic representation. B. Nonlinear texts are oftentimes accompanied by explanations. C. Examples of linear texts include articles, emails, and blog entries. Letter B. A bar graph is a nonlinear text that consists of bars representing numerical data. Did you answer? Okay, very good. Number 3. Which of the following nonlinear texts may be used to present the topic? How to bake a cupcake. A. Bar graph. B. Line graph. C. Pie chart. D. Flow chart. Number 4. Courtney wrote a text that does not make use of graphics. All of the following are the possible work, and Courtney did a big Z. A. Bar graph. B. Email. C. Essay. D. Short story. Number 5. Samuel wants to write about the similarities and differences of two things. But he wants to do it in a way that would not be boring for his reader. Which of the following would make his text interesting? A. Writing the similarities and differences in an elaborate essay. B. Writing the similarities and differences using a Venn diagram. C. Categorize the word list below into linear or non-linear. Now copy the table in your English notebook and write your answers on it. Bar graph, essay, email, flowchart. Are you done? Let's proceed. What can I do? Try me. Let us check your ability in transcoding linear text to nonlinear text and vice versa by doing the following activities. A. Linear to nonlinear text. Read the paragraph below. Carefully examine the data presented in the paragraph and interpret by copying the table in your English notebook and fill in the needed data on the spaces with asterisks. Let's read. As a young teen, Reese does not enjoy as much as other teenagers would. Her weekends are spent on looking for work so she can earn her allowance. She spends 200 pesos a week, 100 pesos for her lunch, 80 pesos for her fare, and 20 pesos for classroom fee. She earns more than what she needs for the week. On Saturdays, the routine would be to go to a distant relative and wash clothes for a small earning of 100 pesos. In the afternoon, she volunteers weeding at a neighbor's garden for an hour and gratefully receives 50 pesos for the work extended. On Sunday after church, she would iron out her teacher's uniform for a fee of 100 pesos. Despite her weekend routine, she remains to be one of the smartest in class. This was taken from Grade 7 Learner's Material, the first edition by First Edition Grade 7 Learner's Material, 7th A, 2017. Note, how much does Reed save for a week? You are there on the screen, the information to answer that. The money earned, the amount, the expenses, the amount, and saving. Okay, try to answer in a while. Okay, are you done? Let's proceed. Let's sum it up. Transcode the linear text below to non-linear text. It's 5 points. Okay, learning does not end when a lesson is finished. Instead, it is continuous. Thus, after you answer the remaining activities, you must again go over your lessons to instill all the learnings gained in this module. This is your test. Pedro tracked the time he spent on his morning routine. Answer the questions based on the paragraph provided. Okay, here's the examples. Pedro's morning routine. It's washing the dishes for 50%, fixing the bed 15%, eating the breakfast 30%, taking a bath 30%, brushing the teeth 10%. What activities require 50% of Pedro's morning routine? What percentage of Pedro's time did he spend of taking a bath? Which takes longer, taking a bath or brushing teeth? What are the two activities that Pedro spent with the greatest amount of time? Which activity consumes the least time of Pedro's morning routine? Okay, as you answered, very good. Thank you very much. And you have learned, you were able to answer, and you were able to graph, to use the pie, the chart, and anything that we need to in learning about linear and nonlinear tests. Okay, again, you have to review your lessons for more learning. Good morning and God bless.